Okay, for a small example,
Yeah, just
the
give me.
catchphrase.
Okay.
You remembered that.
Hmm.
I remember it. Everybody in this room related to it when you said it and could hear the rhythm and the whole nine.
Yeah.
They sat in a boardroom and did that on purpose.
Mm.
Just like McDonald's, I'm loving it. Just like all the rest of them that you could think of. That's why whenever we have a powerful figure who comes up and has a catchphrase, he gone. If that catchphrase starts to make a wave and a frequency across the country and starts to amalgamate people and
Well, if I can,
yeah,
I'm a build on that, right? Because it's in what they call like sacred geometry.
yes,
Frequencies go out,
right,
right, and they establish certain patterns and diagrams that build up
right,
Or build out.
or
right,
build out. You
right,
know what I'm saying? Like that's I'm gonna say just at a very very basic level,
right,
right? It's the principle behind what you don't see in a frequency, which
right,
is why you know what I mean. I think we should strive not to monopolize how frequencies go out.
right.
And I'm not saying just hear me out,
I'm
right? Obviously, there's got to be some training about how you deliver that, right? You got to develop some discernment about what you allow into your field, right? But with the right heart, with I'm gonna say meaningful intent that's not malicious, right? That's not seeking to tear down, but rather build up. If we moving in that vein, right? Regardless if you don't say it like I say it, right? To each their own.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Let it go forth and do what it do.
right,
Right.
Is how I feel about it.
right, right.
But yeah, man.
I agree.
Mm.
I definitely
That was a
agree.
good. That was a good point that you brought up about the when you were relating it to the what you would say sacred geometry,
Yeah.
because that's what frequency does. Once it start building, it builds right on top of each other or expands out,
Yeah.
which is even to our points or their points. That's what they're trying to do.
Right,
But
Right.
I think that those individuals, they understand those those principles, right, that are not readily discussed in our community,
it's
Right.
all
right?
sciences.
Which is
Yeah.
which is why media has the which is why media, am I saying it right?
Media.
Media.
I think that's why media has the effect that it has, in how we establish things.
It's our sciences, and I would say, which is one and the same, which will be one and the same in the next statement I say, which is our true aspect of religion.
Right.
It's the science, the true, what we call sciences. We talking about sound, vibrations, energy, frequency, sacred geometry, colors, all these
Right.
different things are the deeper aspect of what people call spirituality and religion.
Right.
It's the building blocks of our universe.
Right.
And these people, whoever they are, they understand these things, and they get to these corporations and boardrooms, and they utilize these same principles against the people, whether they look like us or they look like whoever else. They utilize it against those down there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And coming back to our community now, it's not a lot of people that have this understanding, because they're trying to send you scriptures in
Right.
send you sound bites of scriptures, but not really looking deeper behind what's being said in that scripture.
Right. And a lot of things in our community, since we're a lot of religious and spiritual people, right? We have let something come in and say, science don't go with this, or go with your spirituality or your religion,
Right.
until you really start digging in and you doing it for yourself. Then
Right.
you'll see, no, it's both. It's the science and the spirituality, or your whatever if you want to say religion also. It's together, because that's how you formulate a good foundation,
Fourth principle.
right?
It's polarity.
You have to have it. Once you allow somebody to take your science out of your culture and just give you one
Ooh.
dynamic, that's another effect of destroying.
As one of my
something
brothers
or
said,
another.
that's not equal weights and measures. It's not balanced.
Not at all.
You went from being this to just boom,
Right.
one sided,
One sided, and that's all you see.
and you could be
So-
destroyed.
Right. So when I tell somebody that's really religious and they don't believe nothing in
That's what I was
science,
going to say. That's the definition for me of religion.
right,
It's one-sided. It's
right,
you've taken the currency,
right.
or you've taken the frequency out of what's actually there,
Actually
and
there.
you leave the shell.
Right.
If the salt has lost its saltiness, what good is it?
What good is it? Right. So
You know-
it's hold your point up. It's just like I've talked to a lot of people that's in Christianity.
Right.
Right. A lot of them are based on, okay, well, the earth is only 6,000 years old. I've heard them say this, and I'm like, bruh, no. But that's one of the things when you took the science out of it
Right.
and you just going by text,
Right.
it's that you're thinking it's that long ago.
Right.
When it's much longer if they really go in, but that's not what I'm trying to get. It's just the separation of the sciences that we dealt with as people, as spiritual people. We dealt with the sciences. We dealt with all of that. We dealt with the stars, the moons, and all of these things. We dealt with these things
Right.
before, in our culture. If you go into the culture, it'll tell you that. But
So we've lost knowledge of self.
We have.
Right.
We've lost serious knowledge of self, and
We-
in
we
losing your
have.
knowledge
We
of
have.
self, you grasping at things and hoping that this is it.
right. And I'm not saying all people that's in
Right, right.
Christianity believe in the 6,000
Right.
year old thing.
Right. Right.
I'm not saying that, but I know a lot.
Well, the important point to drive home with that is usually the people who do really push that frame of thought is to authenticate the Bible.
I
And
agree.
instead of allowing it to do what it do, like Malak say, because it's a form of media. At a point, it was given out to the common people,
Right.
and
Which
people,
couldn't read.
right, and people formed opinions around it and the whole nine. But now it's to go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna throw this in here, right? What you're describing is you're describing a sacred pattern of creation, right? And through how the Bible was delivered to our people, and I'm gonna use it as a brand of media, right? Something was created with this group of people,
Right.
and they keep creating that. That frequency,
Brain chatter.
you know what I'm saying? That frequency replicates itself
Right.
generation after generation after generation.
Right.
Now the scriptures might say something like, these cats went around in the wilderness for 40 years,
Right.
Right.
doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Cyclically.
Cyclically.
A 40-year cycle.
Right. So yeah,
Oh man, it's a lot in that.
it is, right? And I'm like, yo, man, we talking about, discerning the cycles of light and darkness. You know what I'm saying? Like, now just think if we nurtured the patterns that we send out through media. You know what I mean? We could recreate several different things. We do it anyway.
Right. Facts.
We do it anyway in all the different jobs that, or whatever it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? You recreate those structures. And I think that the ancestors, right, they were very much so intertwined with that knowledge.
Right.
Yes.
I don't think that it was something that was new or, by happenstance or nothing like that. You know what I mean? Because it's there.
Right.
I don't know where this thought's coming from, but it's kind of like when people fall in a cyclical pattern, right? It's like you lose the power to create. Because what you're doing is you're looking at the previous people and saying, well, they did it this way. It worked. So not to say you can't get data from it, but a lot of the inventions or innovations that we have are based on people that went a different way. Somebody that chose to deviate from the pack, like a Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
Go
Kane.
ahead.
everybody's got to learn how to read, write, articulate in order to function. I think that we need to learn how to read, write, and articulate the patterns of creation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because the people that are in positions of influence, remember we talking about this as a sphere of influence,
Right.
right? The people who are in this position, they understand this science to some degree. Like Sifu said, cats go in these boardrooms. Hey man, what's a catchy slogan that's gonna get people to, you know, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there,
Right.
right? And it just so happens that the dude that be singing it, he's a brother. You know what I
It
mean?
ain't no just so happens.
I'm just,
No, I know what you're saying, but it ain't no just so. It ain't no just so happens.
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, man, you know, there's a lot of thought process that goes into
Billions of dollars go
delivering these things.
behind it. Right.
These are scientists.
These are scientists.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Some could
Right.
say sorcerers.
Yes.
You know what I
they
mean?
are. Exactly. Exactly. That's what it is.
And all I'm saying to brothers and sisters that look like me, right? You've been equipped with the same energetic core blueprint. You can do the same types of things
Right.
Or greater.
or greater.
Right.
I mean, I do want to, you know, maybe one of the teachers did say, and you shall go and do what? Greater things, right?
Okay.
Than I,
Yes.
right? And if we accept that as a truth, right? Do I go off of what you're saying? Meaning, you know, I can't do that. But the master teacher says, you know, if we believe that, the master teacher said, well, you can do that.
As a man thinketh.
So shall he be established.
Right.
Right.
Right. So again, man, using the contents of media that we have, right, to expand the creational patterns within our community that build the community up. I think Zokane was talking about last week, or maybe one of you brothers, right? But you was talking about each one of us is a cornerstone,
Right. Yeah. Right.
In
That's
that-
what we said.
you know, in that in the building up.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I want to say there's something very unique about the pattern of a square and the way that it builds through sacred geometry. Like, you know, like everything fits evenly, you know, and that's that can go several different ways. We could talk about that later, right? But, you know, I'm just each one of these legs, man, that each one of us can contribute to, right? We can do it. It's just like, you know, well, why don't we do it?
We've tried.
Mm-hmm.
See, I like what Yoda said.
Come on.
You know, Yoda was like,
Bring it out.
Do or do not.
stop
It's no
trying.
try.
No, I'm talking Bill Cosby.
Oh,
Okay.
Ooh, the pudding.
Yeah. Hold on. When I was growing up, he controlled the form of media. And I remember what his cartoon was like.
Right.
Drug dealers was little white boys in the black community.
Wow.
Now, whether that's right or wrong, that was the flip side of what's being done to us.
Wow.
So when he goes to buy NBC, you think these people that remember his show and remember how he was with his television shows and how influential they were to that generation of children. I don't think you might not be as old as I am when it come to that he was
no, I wouldn't. Not old enough to remember anyway.
Okay, well, he was on television every Saturday morning. And it was always a moral behind his stories. Always. And we were not always the people committing the crime. Sometimes it was the little white boy in the hood that had the reefer. That's what they called him on the show. You know what I'm saying? That had the drugs in his hand that was selling it.
Right.
Okay, we know that's how it actually is. If you went to any high school, you know, you was in college, it was your white peers that were known for having the dope, for real.
Yeah. You're right.
You know who to go to. And I'm not saying I'm excluding any race of people. I'm saying that they were involved too. But when it comes to their medias, they control that. You don't see that aspect of it like you see in our community.
I think that we've lost control.
Right. Now this is my point. When Bill tried to buy NBC, that was a to take control of an entire network. So you have to be trusted totally to control a network.
Right.
Oprah, for instance.
Right, because you can push out what you want.
They didn't trust Bill. Bill has never shown them any allegiance, even with the Cosby Show. It wasn't particularly my household growing up. I was somewhere in between the Cosby Show and Good Times, somewhere in between there. But my dad wasn't a gynecologist and my mother a lawyer. But what we related to was the family structure. Both of them was there. Both parents were there. The kids would get in trouble. Sometimes they would get threatened with spanking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was
They ate dinner together.
They went to church. There was the picture of a famous African American artist in the house.
You're right.
There was some influence that we could relate to.
They was into literature. They was into different arts. They was into music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
that show's ratings outbeat some of the biggest sports events ever in TV history.
Facts.
They not trusting Bill with a whole network. So now you a rapist. So now not only am I going to take
grapist.
rapist,
A
not
grapist.
only a grapist, not only am I going to take your ability to control media, now I'm gonna send out that wave that you and I were talking about, that frequency that now your own people are questioning. Well, is he a rapist?
Right.
He did look kind of. Then the memes start. The pudding pop jokes start. Saturday Night Live do they skits.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
This is the media, that same media he tried to buy,
Yeah.
coming back. You understand what I'm saying?
it becomes more pervasive, you know, through
Right.
different outlets.
Now, personally, I can't say whether he did this or he didn't do it. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But what I do know is his influence on the black community when I was coming up was positive and it was mega. It was heavy. You was reading. You understood drug deals. You saw gang violence. You saw all types of things that went on in the inner city from a black perspective of Fat Albert and his gang, so to speak, and the brothers. But it wasn't a negative influence. So
Yeah.
to fast forward to that, like I said, the Cosby Show, in between there, he always had positive things to do. I mean, comedian with no cursing. Now think about all our favorite comedians. They did curse. Bill was funny without cursing. So if you're a child looking at it, your mom and pop can take you to a show.
Right. You don't have to send the children to the back room because you don't want them picking up on those certain words.
Right. Even though some of my favorite was the most filthy mouth ever.
Right.
But still, you had a clean choice.
Choice.
Like he said, it gives you a choice
A choice. Yeah.
of how to bring that into the household. So when you say when it comes to us and what do we do with media, I feel like we have to control some form of media and the way we're perceived.
And you know what? And again, man,
I like
I think that there has to be some normalization with self-evaluation.
It starts there.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So with that, right, it's all good, right? You're going to put out your content, right? But I think that we got to develop some more concentrated ways to spread different messages, right? That uplift and don't tear down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that has to, I think that maybe that could be a step in the right direction, you know what I mean? And, gaining some more affirmative awareness through media.
I like that.
Yeah.